Hello, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Kyle, and, well, once again, I'm on location recording, I guess, and, yeah, so if you can hear rain pitter-pattering on the roof of my car, I apologize, but, such is life. Well, at the moment, I'm going to be talking about Horizon, an American saga, well, at least the first chapter, Chapter 1 of Horizon, an American Saga. It chronicles it's a multifaceted, multi-perspective story about settlement in the Old West. This chapter in particular takes place between 1861 and 1865, and, well, the movie stars and is directed by Kevin Costner, and is co-written by him as well. It's actually about very, very many different characters. Some among them Trent Gephardt, played by Sam Worthington, Frances Kittredge, played by Sienna Miller, Jenna Malone plays a character in it, Giovanni Ribisi, Danny Houston, Tom Payne, Abby Lee, Michael Rooker, Will Patton. There's just heaps of actors in this movie. It really is a massive ensemble piece. And it's hard to really go into detail about the plot of the film because it's such a massive, epic film. This is Chapter 1, with Chapter 2 supposedly coming out in 2 or 3 months' time. And apparently, I already thought that was going to be a pretty epic story, but apparently there is supposed to be a Chapter 3 and a Chapter 4 coming as well, which I really hope happens, because I actually quite enjoyed this. The story follows many different characters as they are settling in the American West, particularly based around this one area called Horizon, which is, unfortunately, in Apache Native American land, and this makes it quite the dangerous proposition to encroach on that land. It's a very violent film, very tough film to watch, but it's also I think quite a comfy kind of film. I actually found myself being kind of really relaxed and just settling into watching this film, which is odd for a movie which features as many massacres as this movie does. It's probably one of the few movies that's as close to the book Blood Meridian as I've actually watched. It's not exceedingly gory, but it is quite violent, with many raids, many people being killed by Native American raids, or Native Americans being killed by the white settlers as well. It is quite the epic film. It's one that I find it be a little bit hard to recommend flat out, being that it is only the first chapter of a multi-part story, and as is the deal with all these kind of movies, I'm always wondering, okay, well, is the entire saga, the entire series, is it going to be all completed? I know that this first chapter may not have done the best box office wise in America, and so I'm a little bit worried that Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 won't be completed, which would really suck, because again, I quite enjoyed this film. But I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens there. I think it touches on some really dark subject matter, with kind of a lot of gray areas as far as the relationship between white settlers and Native Americans. I think that's something that some people might find quite controversial, in that it doesn't delve really into the whole idea, the whole proud native, peaceful vision of Native Americans, but at the same time, it not painting them as the crazy savages either. It's quite a it's quite a nuanced take on the whole concept of the Old West. The movie kind of has so many different storylines going on in it, and so many different characters. There's certain recognizable actors who are barely in this film because I guess their main role is actually going to be in subsequent movies. Giovanni Ribisi, for example, plays a character named Pickering, who I believe he's actually the one that has pretty much been selling this land to people, and I believe putting so many people in harm's way, being that it is such unsafe land. But then that was kind of such is the life of the frontiersman in the Old West. But yeah, Giovanni Ribisi, I believe he only appears right at the very, very tail end of the film, in what is essentially a trailer for the sequel. So it just kind of goes to show you just how epic this film is gearing up to be. It's at the same time it is one that's quite interesting. And if you've been a fan of Lord of the Rings or other types of films like that, I feel that it might not have as much of a confined story arc as, say, the Fellowship of the Ring had. I know that was a movie that a lot of people liked, but some critics, Roger Ebert and such, kind of gave it bad reviews at the time because it was, as they saw it, just the first part of a story. It wasn't a full complete tale. I of course disagree with them, but also because that movie, it really did have many self-contained arcs within it between characters. The character of Aragorn, for example, his whole arc of going from turning his back on his history on his birthright of being king, to actually embracing that by the end of the film. That all happens within the story of that first movie. So there's plenty of storylines going on in that movie, and plenty of arcs that are paid off within that first movie. With Horizon American Saga Chapter 1, you don't really get as much of that. You get a lot more. You do get a lot more of the first part of a story. This really is the first part of a story, so it's kind of missing a lot of. It is missing a lot of payoffs for a lot of things, and it just simply is because this is intended to be a 4-part epic, and. So actually, there's certain character arcs that are in it that I actually found to be a little bit rushed. I believe there's a relationship between Sam Worthington's character and Sienna Miller's character, which I think happens just a little bit too fast. Which is it's saying something, considering that this is a 3-hour movie, but it's also almost like a romantic relationship which builds between them, and I don't think that you really saw enough of that in this film to really have that kind of a payoff between them. I think it's something that probably should have been saved for the second film, especially considering that there's just so many different characters, so many different storylines in this movie. I think it is something that should have been saved for a second film. But it's a very interesting movie if you're a fan of westerns. I think one of the best ways that I've heard this described is it seems to be basically like Kevin Costner putting every single Western story that he's heard into the one movie. There's so many different subplots going on. There's characters that are looking for revenge. There's characters that are trying to protect their children. There's characters that their family have been massacred and they're trying to figure out how to move on from there. Kevin Costner's character, Hayes Ellison, is thrust into a position where he's got to protect, where he's basically becomes a marked man because he saved a woman from execution in a situation that he had no understanding of. And it seems like that's actually going to be the massive storyline which continues through the entire saga. And yeah, there's a lot of things going on in the movie. It really is a very densely packed, epic film. And the thing is, it's just the first chapter. So if there is a negative thing that I would put to it, and something that, like, I can't guarantee that everyone will enjoy this film, because they may leave the cinema thinking that they haven't seen the entire story. Oh, okay, so we've seen this, and now we've got to wait 3 months for the next part, and then will they even make a chapter 3 and chapter 4? Which apparently chapter 3 and chapter 4 are in production, so I'm hoping that they are going to make that. I really hope they do. This is Kevin Costner's like real passion project, so I really hope that he gets to make them, because I really enjoyed this film, and I really am looking forward to the second part. And yeah, I'm really hoping that chapter 3 and chapter 4 get made as well. So I'm going to actually give this 4.5 out of 5. I really did enjoy it. And yeah, it's, especially if you're a fan of westerns, I think this is it really is a kind of movie that they don't make anymore, because it's such a greatly ambitious project. It actually is kind of weird that the movie wasn't made for a streaming service. I think Kevin Costner may have wanted. This is just my own opinion. I think Kevin Costner may have seen it as something that he really wanted it to be more of a theatrical event, rather than it being a something on Netflix or something like that. Again, I don't know what the plan was, but if that was the case, he may have bitten off a bit more than he could chew, because I mean, other than Quentin Tarantino or Christopher Nolan, there's not very many filmmakers who can really say, no, I want this to be a theatrical movie, and put their foot down, and yet still make a movie that audiences are going to flock to see. There's not even Martin Scorsese. His last 2 epic films were made for streaming services with limited theatrical runs. That being The Irishman and Killers of the Flower Moon. So I don't know. Maybe it would have been a bit safer making this for a streaming service and having that small theatrical run, so that people that enjoy seeing movies in the cinema, such as me, could have gone to see it. But anyway, that's just my spitballing the ideas about the production of the movie. Honestly, I don't know, but the point is, I really hope that they get to make this entire saga. And yeah, if you're a fan of westerns in particular, I do highly recommend it. So 4.5 out of 5 from me.